So welcome friends, it's Wednesday's Why. So I had this all planned to be able to do this in my my group, which is Holistic Health for Christians, Tapping Toxins and Trauma. But like all great plans, they just kind of get messed up sometimes. So I'm having to do this here in the car because life happens. And I have my cute doggie just outside the screen here that is kind of panting on me here. So she's like, what are we doing, Mom? So anyway, so I will not be able to have this recorded, but you'll have it here on my profile so that you can listen again. So sorry, things happen. So we flow with it. All right. So today on Wednesday Why, I'm telling you, what kind of food do we need to have in order to help with our not having toxins in our life. So in this mini health challenge that I've been doing, we've been talking about different air and water. And so today is food. So there may be foods that you're eating that are making you unhealthy that you're eating, and there may be foods that you should be eating that are going to make you be more healthy. And so we want to find out what those are. So if you're feeling bloated and irritated and have digestive issues, typically there's an issue. It's like, okay, what's going on that I need to take care of? So let's dive into some of those answers and find out what food is going to nourish your body instead of hurt it. So there's certain things that are helpful for having good health and foods that you can eat. So the first one is to eat lots of vegetables. And, obviously it's winter time, so I love to do a lot of soups, and that's a good way to get a lot of vegetables. But it was very interesting. I did that kind of all through January, and then February came around. He said, I'm kind of missing a salad, and I have a lot of salads. And so I went to the store and had salads, and oh my gosh, having the fresh vegetables was like, I could just feel my body going, oh, thank you. And so it made me realize that you really do need to have a variety of fresh vegetables and cooked vegetables because your body uses them differently. So it's good to have both. So have a good variety. Make sure that you move throughout the day, because obviously that's going to help the whole digestive process. Exercising, we talked about that last week also. Portion size, always try to make sure that it's a smaller portion, and I think the key to doing that, and they always say like that really trick is to use a smaller plate, because then you don't fill the whole plate, you're basically just doing a smaller plate. So that's a great way to be able to help with portion size. Eating protein. It's so important to have protein because that's the building blocks of your body. And so you need to eat a variety of vegetables, fruits and protein, but make sure that you do have your protein. Fasting is another way that is really, really helpful to help your body kind of reset. There's something called autophagy, which really helps the body start breaking down and getting rid of the cells that it doesn't need. And so when you do fasting, that's what your body is doing. It's resetting and getting rid of the old stuff that needs to be kicked out of the system. So fasting is a great way to do that. And then record what you eat. Sometimes you'll be surprised at kind of what you're eating. So if you record it, then you'll be able to kind of look back and go, oh, okay, that's where I may be getting hungry late in the afternoon, or I really like this, and maybe I can solve that kind of a food craving for that. So those are all things that are really helpful. So what's helpful in the healing modality that I do is I find out what foods, by doing muscle testing, are best for you. And there are certain things that we are testing when we do that. So you've heard of, let's say, people do blood tests, or they do kind of like a poking test to find out what kind of foods you're bad on. They kind of do it on your arm and things like that. Well, what that's testing is whether you have a reaction to that food. So almost like a histamine response. And that's great. And we need to know that. But there's like 7 other categories you need to know whether a food bothers you or not. It's not just that one histamine. So you need to find out whether it's an energy toxin. In other words, whether it just drains your energy. You'd be surprised that sometimes like eating potatoes or corn chips sometimes will make your whole body just lose energy. Against histamine, and we already talked about that. So yeah, it may create a histamine response in your body, and so you may get hives, you may get rashes, you may get bloated stomachs. All those are kind of like a histamine reaction to the body. You may have a trauma with a particular food. So in other words, let's say that, and I always use this example because it's kind of laughable, but it's kind of, think about it. So if you're a kid and you've been eating a lot of sandwiches in front of the maybe cartoons when you're a kid, maybe that was kind of scary, or you found a scary cartoon, and maybe then you link that food with that cartoon. And so and that stress. And so you have this like almost like a trauma, even though it's minor, to eating that food. And so your body may be more of a fight or flight when they eat that food because of a situation that you've been in before. So just kind of be aware of that. So again, food can also cause a inflammation in the body, not like so much of a histamine, but it's just inflammation. And so it causes the body to be bloated or to not work as very well or to slow down. And all that is called inflammation. And of course, you've heard that inflammation is the start of disease. And so by decreasing the amount of foods that cause inflammation in the body, then you're going to be able to not start the disease happening. And we tested against your immune system. In other words, when my son was young, if he ate dairy, a lot of times it would lower his immune system. So about 4 days after that, he would get a bacteria in his system. And so we could always link it back to, oh yeah, he had some dairy. So a lot of times it's accumulating in your body, and it takes a while for your body to get rid of what's in it. So just be aware that foods can cause inflammation and also have an immune response to the body. Also, you have foods that can create fungal infections, and you've probably heard of fungal or mold or candida. All those are a fungal infection, and so it's really important that you don't have that in the body, because you've heard a lot of times that bacteria rapidly develop. Well, fungal even goes quicker than that. And so fungal a lot of times is the start of diseases, and so it's really important to keep those out of your body. They can also add to weight gain and just different issues. And I think in some ways, because you have a mold in your body or this candida, a lot of times then you react to mold on the outside. So you just need to be aware that any of these things that are causing any of the inflammation or histamine, all that will cause inflammation and cause you to react to things on the outside of your body more. And that's the whole idea, is we're trying to help you understand how your body responds to toxins. And so if you react to water, react to food and air, those are all things that your body has a higher level of inflammation in it, that it's trying to get your attention to let it go. All right, so another one is there may be foods that may be bad over particular organs, glands, and tissues. So if you have a history of having, like bowel issues or heart disease or something like that, there are certain foods that are going to be bad against those particular organs, glands, and tissues just because of your history and your family medical history. So we always test foods on that. And then dietary intolerance. Sometimes there's just, as a different nationalities, they have an ability to eat different things. And so a lot of times I was raised in Arizona, and so the Pima Indians don't have a lot of ability or enzymes to digest dairy because they aren't a dairy kind of people, and that's not what they eat. They were farmers. They weren't dairy crop people. So it's important to understand that sometimes your genetics or what you're born with or your nationality helps you or hinders you from being able to digest or deal with certain foods. All right, so that kind of covers, so that was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's, like I said, 7 different ways that we test foods to find out whether they're good for you or not good for you. And so just doing a little, poke to find out, or a blood test to find out whether a food is good, is only hitting 2 levels out of 7. And so you may not be realizing that the food you're eating really is causing health issues inside your body that you're not aware of. So a lot of times some of the foods that we look at is gluten, dairy, nightshades. If you don't know what nightshades are, they're things like bell peppers, tomatoes, potatoes, eggplant. So those are nightshades. We look at things like eggs, soy, citrus, high fat. So if you have issues with gallbladder, sometimes high fat foods are going to have or stress your system too much. And then fungal foods. We have a whole list of things that kind of create or intensify a fungal infection once you have it in your body. So it's important to find out what foods you're eating that are maybe adding to that, and then leave those off for a period of time as you get your body back in balance. And so those are just a couple of the things that we typically find out whether your body's having an issue to. Not everybody has them. I don't tend to do so good on soy, but I'm fine on citrus. Other people may be bad on nightshades and gluten. So we just kind of be aware of what that is. And so we're able to find that through the muscle testing and the modality that I do. All right. And so again, we just test, okay, once we got all that, we find out if there's something else that you're missing. Great. Well, I think that's kind of covers the different things that we do with foods and trying to find out what is helpful for you and what would be helping you and what would be hindering you. So I'm Jody Culgrove, and I help you discover that root cause of your health issue so you can finally get some answers, have some clarity on what to do, have energy to be able to do it, so you can go and live in peace, headed in the right direction, getting back the health you want that you so richly deserve. So because it's a mini health challenge, I'm having you do 2 challenges. So the first challenge is to leave off wheat for 1 week. And just see how you feel. You know, I mean, what 1 week, how hard is that to leave it off for 1 week? And you may not realize how many things are in wheat, or how many things gluten is actually in wheat. Now I say wheat, and the reason I say wheat is because a lot of times wheat has a lot of glyphosate in it, which is how they kill the wheat in order to start processing it. And so that gets in the food, and that's what's actually bothering you. So a lot of times if you go to a foreign country and they don't use that kind of method of farming, you can have all the wheat you want. But here in the US, it doesn't work that way. So we have glyphosate in our wheat, and so it really impacts us. You can try to get organic, and that is helpful, but a lot of times your body is already aware of kind of what the wheat does, and so it's already has an inflammation, and so it's best to stay off of it for an entire week. And so when I say wheat, that means kind of, and gluten, that kind of means you know, everything down even to rice, okay? Because there is some gluten in rice, believe it or not. And so some people, if you're really sensitive, you even need to take that off. And so I just challenge you for a week, just leave off, you know, wheats and grains for 1 week and see how you are. It's amazing how you will feel, and I want you to experience how it feels. If it doesn't feel any different, great, but you've tried it, good. But make sure you're getting it all out of your system. The second one is I kind of challenge you to fasting. I am not a huge component of fasting. I just started because it was really hard for me with my low blood sugar. And so, but I did start, and I'm amazed at how good it does make your body feel. And you have to start slow. In other words, they call it intermittent fasting, where you basically, when you go to bed, you don't eat 2 hours before you go to bed, and then you don't eat until you know, like noon the next day or 10 o'clock. And so you're slowly delaying that time that you eat later and later, just so you can try to get a good 24 hours eventually, from like 6 to 6 or 4 to 4. So I try, you know, intermittent fasting, just trying to leave off breakfast and lunch and see how you are. Now I do have to say that a lot of times if you haven't tried fasting, it is going to be hard the first, almost like twice that you try it. By the 3rd time, it's like, oh, this isn't so bad. And so a lot of times what I do is I pick a day, and I try to take 1 day each week and do the fasting on that day, so that I'm kind of prepared for it, and then I can, you know, go back to eating the normal way the next time, and then I'll do it again next week. And I'm amazed that by just doing it once a week, you really do help reset your system and get it back on track. So those are your challenges. Number 1, leave off wheat for a week, and then try to work in some intermittent fasting or 1 day of fasting to see how you feel. All right, so that's what should we eat. So that's the food part of toxins. So I hope you have a blessed rest of the week, and we'll see you next Monday for Monday Morning Connection in my Facebook group of Holistic Health for Christians. And I'm going to be talking about, let's see if I can remember right. I don't know, it's a surprise. I have it written down, I just can't remember what it is. So anyway, so we'll meet you there, and hope you have a great week. Blessings.